Today we're going to talk about time traveling in the movies. Stick around, this is actually a carnivore topic. Hello everyone, Semiretiredbob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. What you're watching is you're watching me walk. I know that doesn't seem super exciting, but if you consider I couldn't do this 2.5 years ago, I could barely stand up for a couple of minutes without severe pain, it makes a lot more sense. So if this is your first time here, welcome. If you're returning to the channel, it means a lot to me that you spend just a few moments of your day with me. I would like to ask everyone to help me out just a little bit. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, drop down in the comments and say, "Hi, Bob." And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. All these things are absolutely free and help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 61 years old and I'm doing things I couldn't do when I was 40. Like out here walking every day. It's kind of damp out here. It's not actually raining, but there's so much moisture in the air. The sidewalks are damp. It's just been kind of a gray, gloomy couple of days. Although it is 41 degrees, so it's fairly nice out here today as far as the temperature goes. Now I'm going to pick up the pace and speed walk up this hill. This is your daily reminder that if you're adding a new exercise, please do it slowly so you don't accidentally hurt yourself. I know I've said this before, but I'm just kind of killing time till I get to the top of the hill here. I hope everyone had a great holiday, a great Christmas. Now we're in that kind of blah week between Christmas and New Year's where nobody really knows what they're supposed to be doing. But here we are. As usual here in Nebraska, it's kind of gray and yucky, but not too cold. It's supposed to stay like this through the first of the year. But then looking at the long range forecast, on January the 2nd, it's supposed to get brutally cold, which is just the way it kind of goes around here. We're almost up to the top of the hill. Then I can slow down to a normal pace. I'm just kind of looking. Looks like this house has already torn out most of their Christmas decorations, but the one across the street still has some. So hopefully I'll have a clear enough night to get out here and see some Christmas lights. Oh. Okay. Let me breathe for just a moment. That's a lot. Well, I've showed you guys that hill before. That's a lot longer hill than it looks. And walking fast up that thing is really good for me. But yeah, let's talk about time travel in the movies for just a moment. I got two little short topics today. But you remember in Back to the Future, great movie by the way, Marty goes back and bumps into his parents. And when he arrives back in his own time, everything has changed. And every other time you see time travel, whether it be in movies or TV shows, what's the one thing they all kind of have in common? Everyone always seems to be afraid of making just the tiniest little change in the past, so, because they don't want it to have huge impact on the future when they get back to their own time. But how about we turn that around and look at it in another direction? What if we make a tiny little change today that will have huge impacts on our future? That's what happened to me. Now, is going full carnivore a tiny little change? Well, it depends on how you look at it. It was just changing one thing, my diet. And I went from, now that we're approaching the 3-year mark here, we're just 5 months away from that. I've gone from not being able to stand up to out here walking around the block every day and farther. With just that one change. All I did was change my diet. So how about you? Are you going to make, learn to speak? Are you going to make that one change today so that out in the future somewhere, whether it be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows how wildly different your life could be 10 years from now if you make that one change today. The other quick topic that I want to talk about, because I just think it needs to be talked about on a pretty regular basis, fructose. Because there's a lot of people out there talking about the fructose as long as you're getting it from honey or the whole piece of fruit like an apple or an orange or whatever. They say that, you know, eating the whole piece of fruit somehow magically makes it better. And I was watching some guy who was a complete and total, well, let's just say he wasn't quite very sharp. But he seemed to think that he'd found, you know, he was smiling like the cat that got the cream, because he'd discovered that our brain does convert a little bit of glucose to fructose, because our brain does need a little bit. And he acted like that was the biggest revelation in the history of man. Doesn't change the fact that we still don't need to eat any sugars. Through gluconeogenesis, our body will make all the glucose we need. And from that glucose, our brain can take that and make the little bit of fructose that it needs. The problem with fructose, and there's not some magical thing in a whole piece of fruit that makes it different. If you look at the fructose molecule, no matter where it comes from, it's the same molecule. It's a very common thing in processed food. to use high fructose corn syrup because that is very, very sweet. And it makes the foods ultra palatable. And there are others out there saying that, well, see, I've been eating all this fruit and my A1C is just fine. Well, the A1C test looks for, oh, I just lost the word, glycated. Looks for glycated red blood cells caused with glycation caused by glucose. It's a very specific test, and it only looks for glucose. It is not sensitive to fructose. And the thing we need to remember, now before I go any further, am I saying a couple slices of apple with your meal every now and then is a bad thing? Well, for me, yes. But as long as you're not overdoing it, I don't see a huge problem with it because the body does need some fructose, a very little bit. But fructose, and you can go look up the actual science for yourself. Fructose, depending on which one you look at, is 7 to 10 times more glycating than glucose. It's terrible for your body in too big of a quantity. Now, I know I'm not aging the best. I look like I'm 61 or 65 years old these days, but there's a very popular YouTuber that you can go out and look at the pictures from about 2.5 years ago, when this particular person was talking about a strict carnivore diet. And since adding fruit and honey to the diet, look at his pictures today. He looks like he's aged 10 to 15 years in those couple of years. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not passing judgment on anybody's looks, because that would be wrong. I'm just asking you to go look for yourself and make your own decision. Fructose, it's not good for us. Now, if you're, going to the gym and working out hard 4 or 5 days a week, plus running or whatever heavy exercise you might be into, if you're exercising like you're a world-class athlete, you can probably get away with a little more fructose and a little more glucose. Although the effects on your body are the same. Just look at the pictures. But metabolically, maybe you can get away with it better. For someone in my boat that has been metabolically unhealthy for 40 plus years, I choose to not do any of that kind of stuff. And the last thing to remember about fructose, we've all heard how bad drinking is for us. Well, fructose is processed in the liver on the exact same receptors that process alcohol. Am I saying it's as bad as alcohol? I'm saying make your own choice. But I'll have some more thoughts on both topics when I get back up to the house. But for now, I'm going to go on around this big block, flip the camera around, play you a little Christmas music. I'm going to keep playing Christmas music till after the first of the year. And then we'll get back to the regular stuff. But for now, enjoy the music. Thank you. Well, here we are coming up the block to my house again. So can we actually time travel? No, of course not. But if every movie and TV show that has talked about time travel is so deathly afraid of doing the slightest little thing that might hugely impact the future they know, doesn't it make sense that if we make a tiny little change today, the impact a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, who knows how different our life could be if we just start today. This is Saturday, which means it's time for weekly wins. My weekly win is I discovered a new way to make chuck roast. Well, it's not really a new way, but because I have tried frying them in the cast iron skillet, and they always came out tough. But for Christmas Day, I cut it in half long ways, making a couple of big steaks. I threw a stick of butter into the cast iron, and it came out so good, so tender, amazing. I may have talked about that in yesterday's video, I don't remember, but that's my big win, as well as all the other little wins for Saturday. And remember, guys, you don't have to jump down in the comments and say, I lost 1,000 pounds this week. That's my win. If you did, that's great. But that's not really what this is all about. We have to celebrate the little wins along the way. Even to the point of, all I did this week was cheat once instead of normally cheating twice. That's a big step in the right direction. The little 1% wins. I went down to get the mail, and while I was there, I took a couple of extra laps around the mailbox before I went back inside. That's a win, folks. This whole journey we call life, we have to celebrate each and every step along the way. Or once we get to where we think we want to be, we'll be like, okay, now what? But if we celebrate each and every little win, we will continue to push forward and find new little wins. I hope some of that made sense. Anyway, guys, happy Saturday. That's what I've got for you today. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.